Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Complete Sports Media's podcast. I'm your host, Darren Campbell, coming to you on a Monday, doing a nice weekend wrap up of sports. So much on the go on the weekend for sports. I decided to get away because I was sports overwhelmed a little bit and not consume it, let it consume me as much as it had been. But Jason decided to go the other way, didn't leave his house, and just watched tons and tons and tons of sports. So he'll be able to add a lot more color and flair to this podcast because he is so much in the know. And must have been a great weekend just getting to see all that great sports.
Yeah, man, it was an incredibly lazy, relaxed weekend.
Okay.
I stayed on my couch and I stayed there for hours on end, watching my playoff basketball, watching some boxing, watching UFC. Wait up, then watch more playoff basketball. Yeah, man, I was literally here for hours on end, but it was good. It was good. It was needed.
Nice.
And like as you know, with our job, we don't get this much time to ourselves
Wow.
often. So I've really been enjoying it. But more importantly, I've been making sure that my body's at rest and I'm
Yeah.
getting a little sleep. So I'm good.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. I saw a coworker today and he said, "You heard much about work?" And I said, "No, I don't think we're going to hear much about work for a while." And doesn't seem like anybody's doing much. So good to take advantage of what little time we do normally have off and enjoy sports, enjoy the weather, do what we can. We ended up going out to Harrison Lake on the weekend. Got a hotel room for a couple nights and did a lot of exploring, adventuring out there. Had a really nice, relaxing time. Glad we did it. We both needed it, and it was good to get away. The only thing that happened that wasn't so great for us on the weekend was we got an alert about 2:33 in the morning on Saturday night that somebody was trying to break into Lorraine's place, and she has one of those Ring doorbell cameras,
Oh yes.
and all of a sudden she got a buzz, and up popped a guy, looked like he was trying the door handle of her place. So she got a little worried. Immediately we phoned the police, and they sent a patrol unit down there, I guess a couple cars. They looked for the individual. They checked both back and front entrances, and luckily nobody got in, but it was a little bit tough. It ended up being hard to get to sleep, hard to sleep, because the worry there that somebody had been trying to break in.
Nah, that's unfortunate, and it sucks because now you're on guard, right?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be away enjoying yourself on your mini vacation, and now you're thinking to yourself, when we get back, is the door going to be kicked in and all their stuff going to be gone? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that, and that's not a pleasant thought to have at all. But now my question is, okay, so the police came, right?
Yeah.
They checked the stuff. Did they dust for prints? Did they do good detective work like they should have done? Sometimes
Yeah.
I wonder. Sorry about that. I know that they would, all right, but did they
Yeah.
do it with a donut in hand, eating donut? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
quite possibly. I've never been too much of a fan of police and how they operate, but yeah, they were probably at the donut shop when we called them. They seemed to rush over in pretty good speed. But yeah, we actually luckily one thing that happens with that ring is that you can actually talk to the person that's at the door there. So
Mm,
we actually had a little bit of a conversation with one of the officers
okay.
while he was standing at the front door, and he asked us a few questions. We gave him some answers. He seemed thorough, and they they did check, as I said, both back and front entrances. I definitely don't think they would have dusted for Prince. If somebody got in, maybe, but I sort of doubt that too. I think break-ins are a pretty low thing on their priority list. I remember seeing a movie where a guy said, "Hey, have you guys follow up on any leads after breaking into my place?" And the cops just laughed hysterically. They're just like, "Leads, come on, like leads? Are you joking? Oh man!" And that's kind of, I think, how they get, because they get jaded. It's just things are happening all over all the time, and those things that doesn't affect them, I guess, in a way, doesn't really become priority for them really anymore.
So basically, what the guy should have said is, so you're not following up on any leads, meaning you're not doing your job. All right,
Yeah.
that's great. Thanks for your help. You've been tremendous. I think we're good now.
Yeah.
Because you didn't do anything.
Yeah, that seems to be the way it is. But yeah, put a little damper on the weekend, a little bit tough. But yeah, we were glad we got away. It was nice to get away. We enjoyed intermittent periods between rain, and it was very quiet up there. One of the quietest times I've ever seen it. So we could easily get into restaurants. We could easily get into places we wanted to go. We went on some nice hikes, and yeah, it was just good. I don't love when the crowds are super and crazy, and we ended up actually stopping at the Vancouver Zoo on our way back, and I hadn't been to the zoo in a long time, and I'm really glad we did. And I was really shocked at how little people there were there, almost nobody, which was another big bonus for us.
Yeah, that's surprising. It is actually surprising, and it's also surprising that it was just such a quiet weekend, or maybe you just caught Harrison, the resort where it just supposed to be a quiet weekend, which is nice though for both of you,
Yeah.
because then you had like all the amenities open and you could do whatever you want. So that can be a bonus.
Yeah. But when I got back, I had many basketball games. I had some UFC to catch up on. I had some hockey games to watch. I had just tons and tons and tons of stuff. I was up super late last night. I thought, well, I was up late on Saturday. I should be able to stay up super late tonight and watch everything I can and not leave it till tomorrow. And it was hard getting up this morning trying to get ready for this podcast after two super late nights over the weekend there. And but luckily, yeah, I got to see everything I wanted to see, and yeah, I can't wait to talk about it and break it down.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to as well.
I think the biggest event of the whole entire weekend, to be honest with you, was the Tank Davis Ryan Garcia fight. I think it moved the needle more than anything else. I think the UFC became a bit of an afterthought. Any of the other playoff matchups were, in swing, but I feel like the biggest event of the weekend was that fight, and massive amount of people turned out, lots of celebrities. It really moved the needle for boxing on Saturday night.
Well, definitely. It definitely moved the needle, because here it is. This is actually a super fight that actually happened.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for a super fight to actually happen between Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. Oh, wait, that didn't happen. Tyson Fury versus Usyk. Oh, wait, that didn't happen either. Hopefully this one happens. Hey, wait, it did happen. Oh,
Yeah.
great. Oh, that's awesome. We actually have a super fight that's actually gone through. And it didn't disappoint. Oh, man, it didn't disappoint. I thought it was a very good fight.
Yeah. I did a post on Saturday night on Instagram about the fight, and got some feedback from some people, and I was surprised at some of the reaction. Some people said that was a bad fight. I hate boxing. It's no good compared to UFC. I wish that people didn't always compare the two sports. I think they're so different, and there's so much beauty in both of them. I wish that it didn't have to be one or the other. I think a lot of people, that that come over from MMA fans don't really get the nuances of boxing and understand it some. But I thought it delivered in a lot of ways. I think you're right. We have been waiting for super fights, and most of the time we're so disappointed because they never get put on until the guys are past their prime. And it's one of the things that boxing has really had troubles with over the years, where they just can't come to agreement with the numbers, and years and years and years go by, and nobody just has the appetite anymore for those two fighters as much as they did before. These guys are two undefeated fighters in their prime, and it really became something big.
Oh no, it was huge. It was huge. And like I was talking to you before we went on, Davis's representation, which is Floyd Mayweather, they're able to squeeze as much advantage out of anything that they can. Knowing that Gervonta Tank Davis was the smaller human being coming into this fight, they did not allow Ryan Garcia to come into the ring above a certain weight limit, which means they limited his rehydration process.
Yeah.
So that also meant that devastating body shot that he took in the 7th round that put him down and made him unable to continue, he probably could have recovered from that if he was properly rehydrated, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
But since they didn't allow him to do that, not to take anything away from the shot, it was a beautiful shot, but I got to think that if he was able to rehydrate properly, he probably could have continued the fight. And then that's how Davis got the advantage. Also, too, I want to point out, in that 2nd round where Garcia started doing a flurry and was feeling himself, the counter left that Gervonta hit him with and floored him. You know what it reminded me of? Adesanya versus Pereira.
Okay.
Kind of the same thing, except on the different side, just on the left.
Right.
It just kind of reminded me of that, like where it was just like the guy's going off, all of a sudden he ducks, swings, perfect counter left hook, and all of a sudden it completely changed the dynamics of the fight, because now Ryan Garcia was not going forward the way he was anymore.
Yeah. I think that was the TSN turning point, as they say. I think it really seemed to change the fight, because Garcia seemed to be getting a little confidence. Davis has always been known as a slow starter, so I thought Garcia's biggest advantage was to take it to him in the early rounds before he figured him out, downloaded the data to understand what was coming at him. And when Garcia, started getting some of his shots through, and he could see that, he was able to, perfect the game plan, he just really took it to him. But I think that it was a bit of a mistake, because he was letting himself be open to those counter shots. And when he swings wild and misses the guy, that chance is there. It was too bad that his corner wasn't able to, turn it and say, hey, you don't have to be worried about it. Just, the game plan is attack him and keep at him. I think he would have had a little more success, but I don't think that there would have been a different result. I also heard from some people that said that they felt like he was a chicken. They couldn't believe that he didn't get up from that fight. I heard some people say that it was fixed because you didn't see like an immediate knockdown from a shot. It was, a good delay, like 5, I don't know how many seconds. I should have counted it, but there was a long delay from the shot for him until he actually took a knee. One of the longest delays I remember ever seeing. What about you?
Okay. From all the boxing that I've seen over the years, I've seen the delay from a hellacious body shot. I've seen the delay. It did seem a little long, but I'm going to be honest, it didn't surprise me, because I felt like I've seen that before. Like some body shots are different from others, and then sometimes the guy can try to tough it out, because it seemed to me you could kind of see it in Garcia's face as he's trying to tough it out a little bit. Maybe that's why it was a delayed reaction. You could see it in his face where he was just like, "Oh, I gotta try to weather the storm here." And then all of a sudden, his body just caved and said, "You're not weathering nothing. You're
Yeah.
collapsing right now. Like he couldn't withstand it." The thing I was kind of surprised at though was when he was doing the standing 10 count. He couldn't get up.
No.
He couldn't get up, or he was just like, even if I got up, he's gonna just target that weakness again and just put me down again, and then I am out of the fight. Maybe that's
Yeah.
what he was thinking as well. So
Yeah, I would have liked to know what was going through his mind as that 10 count was happening, because he nodded his head a couple times at the referee. He looked like he was just, taking his time to stand up and get back at it. It to me, it didn't look like he was out of breath. He did mention something about that after. It did surprise me that he didn't get up and continue. People like to get online and say inflammatory things so that they can get some crazy responses. It can be quite the minefield of people just throwing out whatever just to stir it up. But with a long delay, with the way he looked, he didn't look like he was super compromised to the point where he wasn't going to be able to continue. So when people said quit, you're like, well, sort of in a way, maybe, he was like what's going through his head. Is it like, damn, that one killed me. Do I want to suffer more? Does that go through your brain? I've got hit with that shot before, and I'm telling you, it is such a crazy bad feeling. Like, it's like poison suddenly just goes through your body, all through your extremities, throughout your torso. It feels like somehow just poison just poof gets released, and you're like, oh my God. And it's not just one spot that's hurting, it's like every spot in your body. So I do know the feeling, and it's just, if it hasn't happened to you, it really makes you worried and concerned. And but he's a boxer. I'm sure he's taken shots like that before. But yeah, it was a little bit too bad that there was any type of controversy. I'm glad it didn't go to the judges' scorecards and we were chatting about that and any worry about that. It is a little too bad that Davis was able to get that advantage with the rehydration clause and having to weigh in the morning of the fight. And so he could make sure that the Garcia wasn't going to get too much heavier than him. I think that's something that's wrong with boxing, is that you can pretty much change the rules anytime you feel like, oh, we'll make this an 8-round fight. We'll make this 12-round fight. Oh, we'll make this this long, that long. Well, this won't be for a belt, this, because we're going to make it at a catch weight. Oh, but we're going to get a guy to do a rehydration clause. Like, boxing has a lot of issues and a lot of problems. And I don't think that changing the rules to suit your fighter should be really allowed. It should be, this is this weight class. You fight at this weight class. They decided to not even fight for a belt and just do it at a catch weight, which is kind of ridiculous as well. I don't like that. The only time I see the UFC do catch weights is if a guy is a late replacement and they just know that he can't get there and they're just wanting to have a fight happen. But they don't just automatically, right from the beginning when they set that fight, that it's going to be a catch weight just to suit one guy or the other. That doesn't seem that seems unbelievably unfair.
Yeah, you know what? It is unfair, but at the same time, like for these elite boxers, whatever little gain or advantage you can get, that can tip the scale of the fight. Like, it can. Yeah. And at the end of the day, Garcia signed the contract.
Yeah.
In both, right? So now the only thing that Garcia can hope for is that hopefully whatever contract that he signed has an immediate rematch clause.
Sure.
And then in the rematch clause, then he says, no, forget the rehydration thing. I get to rehydrate the way I want to rehydrate, and we just fight.
Yeah. Do you think they should run it back?
I think they should run it back without the stupid rehydration clause,
Yeah.
because then I'd be more interested to see, is Garcia that much bigger than Gervonta? I know Gervonta's a small person,
Small
but is
guy,
he
short.
that
Yeah,
much bigger than him if he rehydrates properly?
sure.
That
Yeah.
I would be interested.
If they don't do a rematch, who should be next? Shakur Stevenson, is that the best way to go, or is it to wait for the Devin Haney fight after he fights Lomachenko? Supposedly that's supposed to happen next. Who should be next?
If it's Davis, I think he should go for Shakur Stevenson. Go for the gold. Yeah, man. I think that would probably be the best fight for him going forward.
Did you hear the reported payouts yet? Did you hear the reported payouts yet?
Oh, no. I did not. Hopefully it's a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, 5 million guaranteed for Davis stepping in, 2.5 million guaranteed for Garcia stepping in. Both got 50% of the pay-per-view, from what I understand. So they're probably looking at 5 million each for the pay-per-view. So 10 million, 7.5 million. But this kind of made Davis the face of boxing. Jim Gray said it while they were in there after. Don't you think he is a guy that can really start to really be that guy that garners the massive numbers, and he can get 20, 25, 30 million a fight very, very soon?
He could be, but I've never thought of Gervonta as the pound for pound best. Like up there with Canelo, up there with Terrence Crawford, up there even with Vasily Lomachenko. He's getting there,
Okay.
right? He's getting there, but I'm sorry, I've never seen him like that. I think he definitely is now getting into the realm of getting just cresting into the 8-figure point, 10 million and up,
Yeah.
right? But like now, is he going to get to the big money fights of 20, 30, 40? I want to say I still think he has a little bit more work to do before he gets there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he kind of came out of nowhere in the last year or so. I don't think the casual boxing fan that were at that arena that night really were aware of Tank Davis more than a year or two ago. He really just rose to popularity very, very recently.
Yeah, like his popularity has been spiking recently, and obviously people begin to really pay attention to you, and you have that zero still attached to your record. So,
Yeah.
this was a big deal because, like again, like you said, you had two fighters in their prime with zeros on their records,
Right.
and one of those zeros was going to have to go, which is always fun to watch, always a great thing to watch, and that's why we get so disappointed when these other super fights that are supposed to freaking happen don't happen.
Yeah. Yeah. No
I
kidding.
hate, and I absolutely hate that, because it always just comes down to ego and money. That's all it is.
That's
Ego
it.
and money.
Yeah.
And you'd think that there'd be enough money for everybody to be happy, but there never is. Fun.
So now that Garcia's O has gone, does he still move the needle himself? Does he take a huge step back from this defeat?
I don't think he takes a huge hit from this defeat. I think he still moves the needle because he's an incredible boxer. His hand speed is some of the fastest hands I've ever seen, period. I think I've told you this once before, where I saw a highlight where he knocked a man out with the body shot, I believe. I didn't see the shot. Like his hands moved that fast and I didn't see it. Yeah. I had to keep rewinding, going, well, what did he hit him with? You can't just fall over.
Right.
But he hit him with something. And then when I saw it, I go, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. He has some of the fastest hands I've ever seen. So that's why I'm thinking this is just a little blip in the road. He'll be fine. He'll have to take a little bit of lesser competition whenever he steps in the boxing ring again, if it's not an immediate rematch with Gervonta. But
yeah, hold on half a second. Hold on half a second.
Okay. What happened? Oh man, it's cold.
Okay. Somehow
Good.
my somehow my power cord got kicked out and it gave me alert. Your battery's running low. Plug it in. So I'm like, oh shit.
Uh-oh.
It would have just died on us, and then boom, we
Yeah.
would have had more technical issues like we've been having today. No good.
Yeah.
Garcia is one of those pretty boys, gets a lot of attention on social media, moves the needle for companies that want to have a face, a pretty face. A lot of girls love him. He has 10 million followers on Instagram, massive social media following. A lot of the haters out there started saying, yeah, pretty boys like this, they don't last. They're kind of paper champions, giving up against a lot of easy fights so they can get that record up high without getting a loss. But I don't think this is the case with Garcia.
I don't think that's the case for Garcia at all, because you could make the same argument for Oscar De La Hoya.
Yeah.
That dude wasn't afraid of anybody, and he fought everybody.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
and he's a Hall of Famer, and he's one of the greatest boxers we've ever seen. So, pretty boys can fight.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
can fight. They can fight well.
Yeah.
And I think we have. This is definitely not the end of Brian Garcia. We're gonna hear more from him. It's gonna be fine.
Do you see the UFC ever having a boxing organization, a boxing league, and making it good like this? Because boxing does move the needle. Look at all the stars that were out that night. There was Mike Tyson, Manny Pacquiao, Andre Ward. We had tons of stars in the front row. You're looking around, holy cow, this is the place to be. And I think what's wrong with boxing is the alphabet belts out there, and there's so many promoters, and nobody seems to be able to come together and put these huge fights on. UFC puts on huge fights pretty much every month. We get a pay-per-view, and big fights happen all the time. We're getting titles that mean something. Do you see the UFC eventually saying, okay, well, we can run this better. Why don't we do it ourselves? And clean up boxing and make it something that's as relevant as the UFC.
It would be nice, but I think boxing has turned itself into a swamp, a quagmire, where if you try to step in, you got people from different factions that are just pulling boxers this way and that way, and promoters doing this thing and that thing. I think like the UFC would almost have to create its own boxing league and then have its own boxers under contract like they do with the UFC.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't just wade into boxing and just try to clean it up, because it's never going to happen. Let's be honest. That's just never, ever, ever going to happen. Right. And then you always have these wars, not necessarily sometimes between the boxers, but between the promoters.
Yeah.
Where they say, well, I'd love for us to fight your guy, but this is how it's got to be. Right. And the other promoter's like, well, I guess it's never going to happen because we don't agree to that. And then the people that suffer are the fans, where we go, oh, cool. So we don't get to see Fury versus Usyk, David versus Goliath. You don't get to see that? Fantastic. Great. Thank you so much for all of your hard work.
Yeah. Very frustrating. Very tough. I was a little bit disappointed in the crowd that was there for the co-main and the earlier fights on this. UFC usually has a lot of people in the building much before the main event. It seemed like it was still half full at the co-main event. I don't know why that is, and it was very weird to see because people were paying big money for tickets to this event, and they couldn't even been bothered. They only really were there to see the main event.
Yeah. Now, where was this fight? Was this in Vegas or was it somewhere else?
Yeah, in Vegas. T-Mobile Arena there for.
Yeah. Okay. It's unfortunate too sometimes because these are celebrities. It doesn't necessarily mean they're actually fight fans.
Yeah.
Or real boxing fans.
Yeah.
So they're only there just to watch like the main event, and they'll come in late, whatever, or even in the second round of the main event, where you're just like, well, why would you pay 10 grand if you're just gonna miss the fight? Anyways, whatever. That's what rich people do. But that's the other thing. Like, rich people go to these things to be seen, not
Sure.
necessarily for the boxers themselves.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why we would have a stadium that's not as full as it should be as the co-main is coming on. Because as far as I'm concerned, the co-main's coming on, the stadium should be full.
Yeah.
Everybody should be there seated and watching the fights now. But
yeah, the UFC has to get out of the Apex. There's just no fans there, no energy. I really think it takes a big hit when they're there. I know they realized that fight was going on down the street, and they thought, no way, we're not going to put on a big event, in Vegas on that night. But they should have found somewhere else around the country to have it. I would have been very interested to see the numbers with the boxing against the UFC. If the UFC decided to try to go head to head, big card, it would have been interesting, just to see if boxing would have surpassed it, even if they had big fights on the docket for the UFC.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to see if they could have surpassed it. But sometimes I think the UFC is very strategic in what they're doing now, because they because of COVID, they had to go to the Apex Center. And then I think just having certain cards at the Apex decreases their costs like a significant amount, like so much,
right,
that they're willing to lose out on the gate for people coming to the arena. They're willing to lose out on that because they save so much more.
Sure.
And then for this particular card, I thought, maybe that's not a bad idea to have it at the Apex. You didn't have a lot of name fighters.
Big
you know
number.
what I mean?
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
big names. Yeah.
So even trying to fill an arena with this kind of card, you're just kind of like, oh, well, we'll get somebody. We'll get some things there.
Right.
But they would have had to have taken it to a city that they rarely visit for this card to go off.
Sure. Biggest news that came down today was Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets deal has finally been done. It's been talked about for months, speculated for maybe years. Aaron Rodgers every offseason seemed to be contemplating future. It was just kind of painful. I would mostly just turn it off as soon as they would talk about Rodgers the last few weeks, because it was just like, I really just want to pay attention once something's done, and something finally did get done today. Aaron Rodgers' career in Green Bay, to me, it was a bust. He's a 4-time MVP, but they won 1 Super Bowl in the entire time he was there. They had a lot of great regular seasons, but you don't really get the fame and the notoriety and where you should be listed in the upper echelon unless you win championships. And he only won 1. So to me, it's great. Thanks for winning us a lot of regular season games, but you didn't really deliver, did you?
Well, you can argue that he did it once. And let's be honest, winning a Super Bowl is hard.
Yeah.
Like, not everybody's like Tom Brady, where they just go, well, it was actually pretty easy. 7, right? 7.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? Like, it's hard, but at the same time, I understand what you're saying, because I believe Rodgers was there in Green Bay for 14, 15 years or something like that. And so for him to be there that long and be playing at such an elevated level, so high, and only win 1 Super Bowl, a little bit disappointing, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe there could have been 2, maybe even 3. But here's the good thing that the Packers can take away from: they don't have to deal with that dude anymore.
Yeah.
He's now, and like that guy is just news and notes all the time, whether he's pissed off or he's calling people out, or he's calling people on his podcast. These are his own teammates. Well, now the management just doesn't have to deal with the prima donna anymore. Now the Jets get that honor. You get to deal with the prima donna. Good luck. Godspeed.
Yeah. Does it really make the Jets a contender now? Do they, are they able to really be somebody that's one of the Super Bowl favorites?
Oh, okay. First off, no. I'm sorry. I don't see Rodgers turning them into Super Bowl favorites just overnight. I think they're going to win more games in the regular season. I think that will improve. But if you're trying to tell me Rodgers is back, Rodgers is here, we're going to no, man, no, I'm sorry. There's not going to be any ticker tape parade.
No.
This is not happening. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I agree. I think yeah, great. They're going to win more games, but yeah, he's not bringing them a title. He's old. He might have 1 or 2 years left. You said 14, 15 years. I think he's been there 18 or something like that. I think this might be he's coming into his 19th year. Tom Brady won 7 Super Bowls in a 20-year career. Aaron won 1 in an 18-year career. Those numbers to me are just, it shows that he is nowhere near Tom Brady and should never even be considered in that category or that conversation as one of the greatest ever. But yeah, finally, we don't have to talk about it, hear about the speculation. It's done. Hopefully he'll just shut the hell up, play some football, take the Jets, maybe win them a couple of playoff games, hopefully, and fade off into the sunset from there. So I do want to talk about the NBA, though. The NBA's been pretty fun to watch. Obviously, the playoffs are in full swing. Most of the series are through 4 games. There are some series that are playing their 4th game this evening. The biggest news that came down today was De'Aaron Fox has broken his index finger, and supposedly he broke it somewhat late in the game, and he still hit some big buckets, but they say there's going to be some kind of device on his finger to help it. Can't see that being good for handling a ball, shooting the ball, dribbling, passing, anything. I think this is a massive blow for the Kings and might really just swing this series back to Golden State, who have crawled out of an 0-2 hole and took the last 2 games, even though yesterday's game was scary as hell. It is tied at 2 now, and De'Aaron Fox is a little banged up.
That's a huge blow for the Sacramento Kings. Like that's a big deal. That's a big deal because that's their Mr. Clutch player that they rely on the 4th quarter, who came through again in that game that we're just talking about. He came through in the 4th and gave the Sacramento Kings a chance to win the game. Harrison Barnes misses the 3 at the end of the game, but they gave him a chance. So with that guy now being questionable and not being 100%, not good. That's not good, because Fox scored 38 points, had 9 rebounds and 5 assists.
Yeah,
he's a big deal for that offense, and if he's not going 100%, then that means everybody else is really going to have to step up. And the guy that's actually going to really have to step up more than anything for the 5th game for the Kings and Warriors, I think it's going to be Domantas Sabonis. He's going to have to really take charge and lead this team, because if Fox is going to be having troubles, which he definitely is with a broken finger, that guy's going to have to step up.
Most times when you have 2 teams going into a game, they talk about the superstar that, we're not going to be able to stop him. We can only just hope to contain him. A lot of times teams say, we'll let him go off as long as we can contain everybody else. And you mentioned Sabonis. He has really been underwhelming in this series, only averaging 16.5 points, has been really shut down by Kevon Looney and Draymond Green. This past game, when Draymond comes back off his suspension, when Draymond was the number 1 defender on him, he was only 2 for 7 from the floor. Kevon Looney was much better than him in game 3 and really dominated him in the paint. I didn't suspect this after such a great year for Sabonis. Double-double machine who was just really able to put up a ton of points and be that secondary scorer for Sacramento. But that defense and that interior paint work has been phenomenal for the Warriors.
Yeah, no, it's been phenomenal for the Warriors, and I think one of the big reasons for that is Wiggins. Wiggins coming back has made a huge difference for their interior defense. He had a couple blocks. last game, and he played well with 18 points, 8 rebounds. I'm still amazed at the way that he's come back and the way that he's contributed to the team, because you forget he hadn't played basketball for almost 3 months before this. So
Yeah,
it is very, very impressive. And then of course Stephen Curry was stellar again, as he always is, 32 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Yeah, but the Kings, they have to be somewhat concerned, man, because of the injury now to De'Aaron Fox. Yes, he's going to play, but he's not going to be the same guy. So be concerned.
If Harrison Barnes hits that shot, is Steph Curry getting a lot more criticism today for his timeout that they didn't have the Chris Webber move and calling a timeout when they didn't have one? That was a pretty big screw up. Steve Kerr took total blame of it, but should Steph have known that they didn't have a timeout?
I think to a certain extent that the players got to be aware situationally of where they're at in the game. I think you just have to be aware. It's like, wait, because it's like, just have to count on your hands. Like, how many timeouts we get? How many did we already do? But at the same time, I can understand you're caught in the moment. And I didn't see it off the sideline, but I didn't see if Steve Kerr was yelling for a timeout either. I don't know. I don't know.
No, Steve knew that they didn't have one, because immediately he put his hands on his head and said, "What did you do? We don't have any timeouts."
Okay.
And from the timeout, the last timeout that they did have, I'm surprised that the players didn't talk about it. Some of the assistant coaches didn't chime in. Yeah. Steve didn't mention it. The only other person that I can blame for that also is when Steph is moving the ball up the court, nobody gave him an outlet pass. He had 2 defenders on him trying to trap him. Draymond wasn't here. Draymond sort of took some blame that said, I should have been somewhere for him to, pass the ball to. Some of his teammates should have been around to help him get out of that situation and not have to call a timeout.
No, yeah. And also too, his teammates really did. They left him on an island unto himself. They didn't break out. They didn't try to cut hard so they get open, so they get the ball. They can get the ball in open space from him. So it sucked, but it didn't cost them the game, and they got lucky that it didn't cost them the game. So it would have been a very big deal if all of a sudden Sacramento hits that shot, Kings are up 3-1, and then the news stories are definitely different than what they are now.
I know your boss. I've worked for your boss, and I kind of know this answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If you called in and told him that you couldn't come to work because you had a bruise, what would his reaction be?
Sorry, what was that again? Say it again.
If you called Perry and said, "Oh, I can't make it into work today. I got a bruise," what would his reaction be?
His reaction would be, "Oh, so you're on load management? Oh, okay. I understand, Jason. We will see you in 2 to 3 weeks' time. Okay." And I'd be like, "Thank you, Perry. Thank you for your understanding. We'll talk to you later." And then that would be it. That's what we call load management, buddy. Load management.
What if you said you had a sore knee? Would there be any different reaction?
Well, if it's a sore knee, that's a month, my friend. I seen me for a month. He knows that. Shoot, you know this. We have the most physical jobs in our departments. So if we get dinged up, well, that's just part of the job. And they know it's like, got dinged up, man. He's out 5 weeks. He'll be back. But he'll be back.
That's hilarious. Wow. I can't wait to see that happen. Tell me about it happening. Let's try it. As soon as you get back to work. Make those calls. I'm going to listen in on the call. Then I'm going to phone Perry about 5 minutes later, pretending I wasn't even there, and just hear his reaction for real. The reason why I'm asking that is because it's becoming an epidemic in the NBA playoffs. Guys are sitting out with bruises, sitting out with sore knees, sitting out with the littlest niggling injuries that I'm shocked by. Giannis, who, I consider a pretty tough guy, he has a bruise on his ass and he's decided he's not going to play a couple games. It's called a bruise. They said it's contusion to his lower back. It was a bruised ass and he's missed a couple games. And now Miami's 2-1 up and really got the upper hand on the series. This has started to become ridiculous. Look at the Clippers. Clippers are on the brink of losing out. Paul George out, Kawhi Leonard out. What the hell? It's happening all over this entire NBA. And, these guys are this soft that they're going to sit out over a bruise or a sore knee. Come on. What the hell?
Okay. Here's what I'll say. Okay, so yes, the Heat did win. They took advantage of the fact that Giannis wasn't there. They're up 2-1. Heat win 121-99. But I'm going to say this. I'm going to actually have defense for Giannis. I have no defense for Kawhi. I'm sorry. I just don't. But for Giannis, I saw the awkwardness and the way and how hard he fell. That looked extremely painful. Like extremely painful. And there's been, there's history of that happening in other playoffs past where the guy couldn't continue. He could not come back into the game, or he could not be there for the next game because of the fact that he literally couldn't move his body because his back is stiff enough. So I'm going to give Giannis that. I'm going to give him, okay? But when it comes to Kawhi and this weird degenerative knee thing that he's had for his entirety of his life, apparently, I don't know what to say with that. Because in the second game where apparently he was already fighting through it, apparently, in the second game.
Yeah.
You can't see him struggling.
No.
And I believe he scored like 38 points. So I couldn't see it. So I didn't know that he was even hurt.
Yeah.
But I was surprised to see that I'm like, oh, so he's not in game 3 or in game 4. So, because you know what that means, right? The Clippers are not going to win the series.
No, they're done.
They have now lost the series. So
Steve Ballmer needs to pick up the phone or walk down to the office of Michael Winger and say, get rid of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. This experiment did not freaking work. I do not want to spend money on these idiots anymore. Get them out of here. Let's get some players that can play the game. These guys are unreliable and have been pretty much their entire Clippers career. This is a bad failed experiment.
Well, it sets a bad precedent for like the franchise because they've just been putting up with it for so long that now they just think, because that's not actually normal. It's not normal to have your two main stars not be available to play for 50% of your season or whatever it is, because it's an absorbent amount of games. And it's even ridiculous the percentage of games that they played together over the course of 4 years that they've been on the team. Not much.
Yeah.
It's kind of like whenever you kind of go outside and you see your neighbor and you're like, hey, I haven't seen you for a couple of weeks. How you doing? It's like, oh, not bad. That's how they do it. Yeah. And they're on the same team.
True. Yeah.
They
barely play with. Yeah, they barely play with each other and have since they started. And he made them get George. They had to send a big package away to get Paul George over there, and they just have not delivered, and it's been really rough. There was some pretty alarming news that came out over the weekend about Kawhi Leonard and his family, and this has to be a distraction. This has to be something that's tough to deal with. I know that you can't control your family, and maybe it shouldn't affect your job, but why would the Clippers want to have this negative press around them? It's got to weigh on a guy when his sister gets sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for murdering somebody over trying to rob them. That is just horrible. And something that I'm sure has affecting him, his entire family. And, this is just another thing that makes me think that his time there should be gone. And, that they should move on from Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, that particular situation is absolutely horrendous. It's horrible. The fact that he even has to like now answer questions in regards to his sister, her going to prison forever. It sucks. It sucks. And not only does he have to now answer these questions, he also has to answer questions of, hey, so what do you think? You gonna play tonight?
Yeah.
On top of everything else.
Yeah.
Like he's like, for me, honestly, I look at these injuries and I go, oh, I guess he's injured. Because at the end of the day, it's about want. What do you want?
Yeah.
You want to play and hopefully go on? Do you want to play through so that you can be seen as greatness? Like, perfect example of what I'm trying to talk about is when I was watching the Knicks Cavs, which was another stellar series. I really like that series.
Yeah.
Bernard King was in the audience. Remember what that dude did in the playoffs? How he played through, like I think he basically played on one freaking leg.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't do that anymore. We don't do that. The modern NBA player goes, "Oh yeah, that was awesome, so inspirational. I will not do that."
Yeah.
But that they don't want to do that. But so what they're willing to give up is the championship.
Yeah.
That's what you're willing to give up.
Yeah.
You don't want to play? That's cool. Somebody else that wants it more than you will play, and they'll win.
There wasn't a perfect example. A lot of people have always, especially Canadians, have always said, Canadian hockey players are, so tough and prove it all the time. There was an incident that happened in one of the games just last week. One of the players got knocked to the ground right in front of the crease, and there was a big scramble around, and the goalie skate came up and cut him just by his eye. It cut him above his eye like this, went up his forehead and sort of sliced down. 75 stitches in the locker room, and he comes back and plays the rest of the game once they finish stitching up the cut. That you should see how ugly his eye was. You should see how close it was for him to be permanently blinded. And he decides to come back and play the rest of the game. It was shocking. And NBA players, they're becoming like soccer players, faking injuries, falling down, looking like they're hurt all the time, and then sitting out for just little things that there's no way some of these tough guys in other sports would ever even consider sitting out for.
Yeah, well, you know what? But hockey's a different sort of animal altogether. Those guys are tough. Those are tough men that play that game, right? They kind of like I liken them to like football players where it's like, oh no, we play until we can't like literally play. Like those are real injuries. You can't play. You know what I mean? Like can't play.
Oh, we talk about it all the time. The UFC, guys, they got broken things and they're still fighting, and they'll come back. They prove how tough athletes they are. It's too bad the NBA is becoming so soft, and we're not getting to see these teams at full strength. We all want to see the superstars play. We all want to see these teams at their best ability fighting each other. It makes for compelling basketball. It makes for me wanting to watch, and millions and millions of people wanting to watch the stars against each other, the best against the best. That makes it so much better than just, oh yeah, well, this team doesn't have their two guys. This team doesn't have one guy. These teams, yeah, well, we don't know what's going to happen because this guy's out, that guy's out. It's like, it's almost every single day now. And basketball is not a tough sport. There shouldn't be this many guys sitting out for injuries. Football is a tough sport. Basketball isn't.
Well, you know what? Because when you said it like that, like you want to see the best on best, how awesome was it like in game 1 and 2 where you saw Durant guarding Kawhi and Kawhi guarding Durant? Amazing. That was awesome. Amazing. Because that's best on best. And they're going at each other, and nobody's trying to hide from the other on the defensive end. They're just like, no, guard just straight up. Let's go. Like that's what we all want to see. And it sucks that we don't get to see that when it's just like, oh, but man, injured. Yeah. I may see you in game 6 if we can make it there.
Yeah, it's tough. Not fun, not good. Yeah. I do want to just touch really briefly on each series. Let's just start in the West. We'll go number 1 seed, number 2 down in the road. So we'll start with Denver, Minnesota. It looked like Denver was going to probably sweep them out. Minnesota had a really good run in the fourth quarter, got up by 12, and then they collapsed completely and let Denver tie the game, send it into overtime. I thought once that went into overtime, this is it. Denver's going to flex their muscle, end up sweeping them out of there. But Minnesota fought back, got a great win. Anthony Edwards is really emerging as a superstar, had a great finish to that game and pulled out the win. I think, Denver's going to take this series and, probably the next game, but at least Minnesota didn't get swept and they staved off elimination for now.
No, they staved off elimination. I did say that. I mentioned that. Minnesota will probably win one game because of Anthony Edwards. Yeah. And then what happened? Because of Anthony Edwards, they win this game. Yeah. He was stellar. He hit big shots when he needed to hit big shots, had 34 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. But Nuggets didn't make it easy, and they didn't make it easy on themselves when they were up by 12 in the fourth, and then all of a sudden the Nuggets rally. And they rallied behind their 2-time MVP, Nikola Jokic, with 43 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. And one of the most impressive points that he got was when he was faced up with Gobert at the top of the 3-point line, and he just goes, just shoot it. Swish.
Yeah. It was a long distance one too. Yeah. And yes. He just decided, okay, I can hit this. And it was an amazing shot. And he's really flexing his muscle in this series and looking great. They go back to Denver for game 5 tomorrow. It's the late game tip-off, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Probably now that it's back in the altitude of Denver, back home in front of their fans, the series is probably done then.
Oh yeah, I think the Timberwolves run comes to an end tomorrow.
Yeah. Gobert and Towns did have decent games. Both had double-doubles in this past one, but for the most part, they have underperformed in the series, and you can't win with just Ant-Man doing what he's doing. I think this will be done. Let's turn to the second seed, Memphis Grizzlies. They had an absolutely unbelievably horrible start to game 3 on Saturday, and just completely let the Lakers dominate them. It was 35-9 after 1. It was just like, what the hell? Did you guys forget what time it started? Lakers were able to, pull out a 10-point victory, but Ja Morant was fantastic, but he didn't have anybody else helping him get there, and Lakers pulled out the win.
Yeah, man. You know what? It seemed that the Grizzlies were affected by. Okay, I'm just gonna say it seemed that the Grizzlies were affected by one player on their team, Dylan Brooks. Every time that dude touched the ball, it's just like but this team brings it upon themselves. Yeah. They're brash, they got swagger, they're young, they like to prod the bear, pull on Superman's cape, which is LeBron James, he's an old man, but he's an old man that had 25 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, and you can't stop this old man from scoring whenever he wants. So, you should keep antagonizing him. That's a good look for you, and it seems to be working. So keep doing that.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis was awesome. He's absolutely awesome. 31 points, 17 rebounds.
Incredible game.
And yes, and you're right. Morant was on an island unto himself. He had 45 points, 9 rebounds, 13 assists. He was stellar. He was awesome. But then the next guy was Desmond Bane, his backcourt partner. He had a pretty good game, 18 points, 5 rebounds, but then there was nobody else after that. Nobody else. So I feel sorry for Ja in a way. He was his own worst enemy this year, but when he's on, he's one of the most athletic guards. He's, fearless, goes through the paint, will do anything it takes to fall 1 rebound short of a triple-double at 45 points. He did everything, but Bane had 18 and Jaren Jackson had 13. Nobody else was even anywhere. So this was one-sided affair.
The Lakers are getting great contributions from their bench as well. Rui Hachimura had another decent game, 16 points. Austin Reeves had 13. D'Angelo Russell had 17 points. So, the scoring is going down, not just on AD and LeBron. And the Lakers are looking pretty decent. Up 2-1. Game 4 goes tonight, and what is it? 7:00. 7:00 Eastern time, 4:00 Pacific. I guess the tip off is. So, we'll see how that turns out. Ja Morant actually scored 22 points in a row for Memphis in that fourth quarter. As I said, he took it on himself. Dylan Brooks wants to be a bad guy. He's a Canadian. He, untypical Canadian. He wants to kind of be Draymond Green 2.0. Do you think that hit to the groin deserves a suspension? Do you think he shouldn't be playing in this next game?
Well, there's been so many things that have gone on so far in the playoffs, with Harden hitting that guy in the groin, Bede kicking Claxton in the groin, groin shots. I don't know. I guess if the league didn't suspend him even further, then I guess he's fine. I understand why they did it to Draymond, because he's Draymond. He does these things. Yeah, but you know what? I was watching a podcast with and I really like him, JJ Redick. I love what his analysis. I love what he has to say.
Old man.
He said that. Yeah, the context though of, if you look at Sabonis and what they've been doing, they've been actually antagonizing Draymond Green.
Yeah.
And trying to bait him.
Oh yeah.
And they finally got him. All right. But at the same time, are you trying to tell me the refs are stupid enough that they don't see what's going on in the game? Of course they see what's going on in the game, right? So anyways, regardless, Dylan Brooks is there. He's going to play. But here's the thing that idiot just doesn't seem to get. LeBron James is a Hall of Famer, and he's been in bigger games than you've ever been in since you've been born. So, when you antagonize a man that's been that good for that long, he's probably just going to make it his life's mission just to beat your team.
Yeah.
Then that's what you've asked for.
Yeah.
I will beat you then. Fine. You pissed me off this much. I will personally make sure, forget Anthony Davis, I'll make sure that I beat you.
Yeah, this is the worst person of his generation to poke. This is a guy that really, usually is super calm, not playing with the fire intensity that we saw with Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, killers like that. But you piss a guy off, he's going to say, okay, F you, I'm going to show you. And he has. And this is a big mistake by Brooks, I think. And it hasn't worked so far, and it probably won't. One thing that I do want to mention about the Kings Warriors series was how Draymond ended up coming off the bench. I understand that after Game 3, he drove over. Draymond left his house and drove over to the arena and found Steve Kerr in his office and said, "Can I have a sit down with you?" And they sat down and they started having a conversation, and both Steve and Draymond say that Draymond asked to come off the bench. He said that he thought that would be better. He hasn't come off the bench in a playoff game since even Steve Kerr was there. 2014 was the last time he did. And he really seemed to be knowing that it was a selfless act, and he would still be able to come out and contribute. He had a great game. And I thought it was super smart of Draymond, and it might bode well for him staying with the Warriors in the future, because he's willing to take whatever role that they can give him.
First off, that's a real teammate. That's a real teammate going, this is what the team needs, I believe. And then him making sure that him and his coach are on the same page, saying, I think I could be better served if I do this. Like that's as mature and responsible move as I've ever heard of. There's nobody who ever wants to just come off the bench. Nobody wants to do that. Actually, you know what? I'd say Draymond Green's move is reminiscent of Manu Ginobili. where it's like, I'm willing to sacrifice for the team so that we can be better. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting that from Draymond because we have seen some crazy antics and some things where, you shake your head and wonder, what are you thinking? You're getting suspended in the playoffs and harming your team's ability to go farther. But this was a really, really good move and selfless and all for his team. I was very impressed, and I'm happy that he's willing to accept that role coming back from a suspension that he shouldn't have taken and he shouldn't have got. So good on him, really good on him. We mentioned the Kawhi Leonard thing. It looks like Phoenix is going to be able to knock them out. Probably it'll happen Game 5, which is tomorrow, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern tip-off time. They just don't have the horses in LA with both Kawhi and Paul George gone. This looks like it'll be over in 5 games for Phoenix.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Because you don't have superstars to combat Durant or Booker. And Durant had 31 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. Booker had 30 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. Yeah. But I will say this. Jesus, Russell Westbrook showed up.
Played great.
Big time.
Played great.
I was amazed. I was impressed. I was like, wow, I haven't seen this version of Westbrook. Didn't think I'd see him again.
No.
37 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. It looks like the Clippers getting Westbrook was actually for the best, because without that dude, Clippers get blown out.
Absolutely crushed. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, that was impressive and good on him to just go to the visitors' locker room across the concourse from the Lakers locker room and really, resurrect himself and, give the Clippers all he had. And he's played phenomenal in the playoffs and looked really good. But yeah, they're overmatched now that Kawhi's out and I doubt Kawhi's going to play again. So that series is done. Let's turn to the East. We'll start with the Milwaukee Bucks, number 1 seed against the Heat. We briefly mentioned it. 121-99 blowout by the Heat. Jimmy Butler, really, really having a phenomenal series. 30 points in 28 minutes for them. They spread the scoring around incredibly well. 6 players in double figures. Both Bam Adebayo and Caleb Martin had 12 points, 11 rebound double-doubles. And it was, impressive for them. Jimmy Butler set a Heat record for the most points in the first 3 games of the series with 90. LeBron only had 89 and Wade only had 88 in the history. So Jimmy setting a record there. The only real downfall and drawback of that game was Victor Oladipo going down with yet another injury, blew out his knee, will have surgery this week and will be out 6 months. His 3rd surgery in the past 4 years, and he's been severely hampered trying to come back from those first 2 surgeries on his hamstring, and now he's having to deal with this. There was tears on the sideline from his teammates. Everybody had heavy hearts when he went down because he's worked so hard to come back, and it was really, really tough to see.
And a lot of these injuries, I think, are for Oladipo, go back to that really bad injury that he had, and I think it was due to his hamstring or his quadricep or something like that.
Hamstring.
And it's
basically no, actually, I believe it's his quad. Yeah, I believe it was the top of his knee quad there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's basically, it has turned that it just compromised his whole leg on that side, especially around his knee. And he's had problems with it going forward, and it sucks because he has really he's put in so much work to try to come back onto the court and do what he can and stuff. And it's hard. It's hard to see that from anybody, like where they tried that hard and they just keep having these injuries happen to them. So that's a big blow for the Heat. That's unfortunate. But one thing that was a positive for the Heat was there was a Duncan Robinson sighting in this game.
Yeah, 20
and he
points. Yeah. Wow.
20 points, and he was flame throwing from behind three.
Yeah.
They need that guy to
Yeah.
play and play well and to be on point. I guess he hasn't had the greatest of seasons and stuff. So if they can get him shooting the way that he can shoot again, well, then you know what, Giannis better come back quick.
Yeah.
But
He's got
I
to work
believe
on
Giannis
it.
will come back in this game.
Yeah. Duncan's got to work on his defense. He's a liability out there, but if you
He's
have
right.
other defensive stoppers on the floor, he's a flamethrower and really can put the ball in the hoop and get you a lot of points, and always has. But he became somebody they couldn't trust defensively, and he started becoming having a lesser and lesser role. So, but yeah, if they need points, he's a guy that can contribute to that big time. Yeah, Giannis is supposedly coming back today. Tip-off is like in 45 minutes from what we're doing the podcast now. I'm sure Giannis will contribute heavily, and we'll see what happens in game 4 here. It is in Miami down in South Beach, so home court advantage for the Heat. If they go up 3-1, 96% of teams win a series when it's up to 3-1. So I don't see if Miami can win this game. I don't see Milwaukee coming back, but the record is 258-13 when it's 3-1. So yeah, this is a huge game. We'll see if Giannis is compromised at all, and we'll see if Miami can get a big victory in game 4 here. Okay, let's go to the Boston Celtics. They were the 2nd seed facing off against the Atlanta Hawks. Hawks were able to get game 3. This has been a super high scoring series, but when you have, those two guys that contribute so much, Brown and Tatum, usually, there's no way another team can win a series against them. You've got White and Smart scored in double figures. Robert Williams had a phenomenal game, 13 points and 15 boards in only 29 minutes. And yeah, this is looking like Boston's probably going to be able to close this out tomorrow, 4:30 tip off in Boston.
Yeah, and the Hawks, they fought well, but at the end of the day, the Celtics are just so much better. Just a better team. They're a better team than them, and like the defensive strategies and the length, I think, give the Hawks a lot of problems, especially Trae Young. Even though Trae Young did have he had a good game,
Yeah,
had to put up a lot of shots to get his points, though.
True.
A lot of shots.
Yeah,
but at the same time, so Trae did score, but again, they had to put up a lot of shots. And the one guy that really showed up for the Hawks was DeAndre Hunter. He had a stellar game, but still not enough to beat the Celtics, man. And yeah, the Hawks unfortunately just don't have enough to beat the Celtics, especially when you have guys like Brown and Tatum who just go, hey, how many points do you think you're going to score tonight? I'm thinking about 30, 31. Don't worry, I'll score about the same. We should be fine.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I saw back, both got 31. That was, all she wrote. DeAndre Hunter played great, 27. Trae Young, you did mention lots of shots, but 35 and 15 dimes. That's a hell of a game. The one big blow, though, that looks like it's going to happen was Dejounte Murray had a brain cramp last night. Still mad at the official. Decided he would go and approach him and yell at him for a missed call, and he bumped him. Almost always an automatic suspension when you come into contact with the referee. I'm thinking we're going to hear in the coming hours that he has been suspended for this next game.
That was stupid. His emotions got the best of him, and it can. But there's one thing that you really have to know is you can't touch the officials, son.
No.
Can't do that. You cannot do that. And as soon as you do that, well, there you go. You now get to sit at home with your lovely wife and children, and you get to watch your team play.
Enjoy the couch, because it's you're sitting there one day earlier than your teammates. Yes. You're not helping stave off elimination. Super dumb move. And unfortunately, too many young guys make these dumb moves, and this was a very, very bad mistake. He should have just taken his frustration out somewhere else, not on a wall like we saw Jaden McDaniels, not on the dog, not on the wife. You get your frustration out somewhere else. But this was a horrible, terrible, terrible move, and boom, that was it. Okay. The only sweep that happened in the first round were the Philadelphia 76ers. They were able to dispatch the Brooklyn Nets in 4 games. Incredibly low scoring series, just really a battle. Joel Embiid had to miss some of the games and is 50-50 if he's going to be able to be ready for the second round, I hear, which it can't start anytime before Saturday, which I understand. But yeah, crazy how the Sixers outscored the Nets 56-40 in the second half on the weekend there, even without Joel Embiid. Tobias Harris played good. Harden was good. Paul Reed, another guy, unheralded guy, stepped up. Brooklyn just did not have the horses, completely ran out of gas, and that was it. Their series is done. They've gone fishing, as they say, and better luck next year.
Yeah, better luck next year. Unfortunately, as I said before, they just don't have the talent to keep up with the Philadelphia 76ers. They never did.
Yeah.
They made it interesting the one game, but but the 76ers still beat the Nets without Joel Embiid not even being there. So, that to me says everything I need to know about this series. They'll have to go back and retool and
very time.
And build their team around Bridges. I think he's definitely worthy, but they definitely need more people than that. They need more people than just him.
Okay, the only other series we've just briefly touched on it, but let's just close it out. What is the New York Cleveland series? New York is the 5th seed coming in. A bit of an upset here. They're up 3-1 after 4. Now, if you had your team, you had the choice between Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson. Who do you want on your team?
Between Jalen Brunson and who?
Donovan Mitchell.
Wow, it looks like I'm taking Jalen Brunson, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It looks like Jalen Brunson was the right call, and he was always the right call to do, right? Because he's been stellar. He's been awesome. And for the Cleveland Cavaliers, for them to go into the Garden, that was literally their kryptonite. All of a sudden, we can't hit shots and we can't shoot. We can't do anything here. I thought that transformation was just, it was unbelievable. I'm like, they can't do anything in the Garden. This is weird.
Yeah,
they stepped away from their friendly confines of Cleveland, and then all of a sudden, we can't play any basketball here. This is hard.
Yeah,
and the other guy that stepped up while they were playing in New York is RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett seemed to have found himself.
Yeah,
26 points. So I think it's highly probable when they go back to Cleveland that the Knicks close it out.
Yeah, I can't believe how much the bright lights, big city, all the pressure seems to have got to Cleveland. They were unable to do anything. Donovan Mitchell, 3 of 15, only 11 points, and only 2 in the second half. 2 points in the second half from your star. It's not going to get it done. Both Evan Mobley and Jared Allen are supposed to be these 2 twin towers that are going to be getting all the rebounds, keeping the team from getting in the paint, being great defensive stoppers. And they had the same amount of rebounds as Mitchell had on the other side. It was as Mitchell Robinson had, and it's insane how they just seem to implode there. You're right. It's like a kryptonite that Madison Square Garden was. And I would be shocked if the series isn't done now. I think the momentum's fully on New York's side, and they probably close them out here this next game.
Yeah, I think all the momentum is on New York's side, all the pressure is on Cleveland's side, and I don't see them coming back in this series now. I really don't.
No, it seems to be done, and Who would have thought Jalen Brunson was better than Donovan Mitchell? And
Yeah.
Charlotte Hornets, Michael Jordan, make Jason proud. Go get Jalen Brunson and build your team around him. Let's make Charlotte relevant again. And Jalen Brunson went from, a cast off in Dallas to, leading the Knicks to the second round. This is super impressive.
No, actually, it's even better than that. Jalen Brunson cast off from the Mavericks. The Mavericks looked like they were headed to the playoffs. Get Kyrie, fall out of the playoffs, and then they go golfing. While Jalen Brunson goes, oh, that's cool. I didn't want to go golfing yet. I'll go with this team, my new team, and I'll keep playing in the playoffs and get to the second round. So cool. See you guys later.
Yeah. Yeah. Game 5 goes Wednesday, early window, 4:00 Pacific, 7:00 Eastern. And that's it for the NBA story. Okay, we had a UFC. I talked earlier, it not being, the greatest card stacked with names, but we had basically a number one contender fight coming out in the heavyweight division. A guy that if he had a very strong showing against one of these top guys, really had a shot at the title. We had number 3 against number 4. Sergey Pavlovich comes in on a 5 knockout, first round knockout win streak against Curtis Razor Blades, who's the most decorated takedown artist in the heavyweight division. And this was a one-sided affair. Pavlovich is one of those steroided up cheating Russians that just decided to beat on Blades pretty badly. And here we go. He's sort of taken over the next position in line for the title once looks like Johnny Bones Jones will defend it one time before he gets a shot. But yeah, what do you think? This is an incredible, impressive performance against, a Russian, but, still was impressive.
Well, okay. Let's just be clear, though. Pavlovich did pass his USADA thing, so we don't know about that other stuff. But this is what we do know. He starched Blades. Like, Blades didn't even get a chance to do his grappling or his wrestling. He got shook up with the right that I think dropped Blades immediately, and then he was never the same after that.
Yeah.
It was Pavlovich is clearly one of the hardest punchers in the weight division, and he's shown it by taking these guys out first round, does it again to the guy that's right behind him in the standings, right?
Yeah.
So if that doesn't tell you, I think he's ready for a title shot. I don't know what is. If I'm John Jones, I'd be looking at him going, okay, he's a heavyweight that has fast hands and extreme punching power.
Yeah.
Something to be wary of.
Yeah.
That is something to be ultimately wary of. So
I actually think that, if Pavlovich has this type of performance against the winner between Jones and Stipe, has a real shot at, beating them. He looks incredible right now.
Yeah, he looks really good. He's just been destroying his competition. So to me, he looks like he's the next guy coming up after the champ. So after he fights Stipe, but he's the next guy up, clearly. Like, so Pavlovich doesn't have to fight anybody else. I think he's just going to wait on the shelf and wait for a shot.
To my right here, I've got my bank of TVs, and they just announced the most improved player in the NBA for the season. It was between Jalen Brunson, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Lauri Markkanen. Who did you have your vote in for?
Oh, I would have went with Markkanen. I thought Markkanen was actually very, very impressive this year.
That's who won it. Yeah, he just won the most improved player in the NBA this season. And tough competition, but I see them speaking to him in Helsinki, Finland. Congratulations. Lots of awards have been handed out, and they're doing them nightly on the TNT broadcast. So good on them. Okay, back to the UFC. So Pavlovich got his 50K, really has probably nothing else to do for fights, just wait for Jones and Stipe. I would advise him of that. Would you as well? Would you advise Pavlovich to wait for the winner of those two guys?
Absolutely. He has nothing to gain from fighting somebody else. No, man. For him, if I'm Pavlovich, I go, well, I guess I just wait now because look at what he just did to Curtis Blades. Like, he has nothing else left to prove. As far like if I'm his agent, he goes, no, man, he did all the things he needs to do. Now he can just wait and tell us when he gets to fight the champ.
The longest knockout streak in UFC history is held by Chuck Liddell, 7 KOs in a row. Don Fry, one of the pioneers of the sport, 6, and now Pavlovich slides into second place, tie with 6 KOs in a row, all in the first round. And holy cow, he looks so powerful. I hope it's not steroids. I hope it's not drugs. Most Russians I don't trust, and so I think probably he's doing something, but he's still a scary man right now. And look out, whoever is the heavyweight champion after this next fight, he's coming, and I could see the championship going back to Russia.
Yeah, it's whoever wins that fight, whenever they got to face this guy Pavlovich, they're going to be in for a long night, man. It's not going to be an easy fight whatsoever.
Another one of the fight of the night went to the winner of the co-main event. Bruno Silva was able to dispatch Brad Tavares with a really quick stoppage. Big, huge knee, drops him, and went after him. I think Mark Smith stopped this a little soon. I didn't love it, but it probably was inevitable. Silva looked really good in a quick win.
I thought it was a little quick stoppage too. I will agree with you on that. I thought Tavares actually had a point of objecting against the quick stoppage because he was still with it. His eyes were still clear. Like, not to say that if Silva had landed a couple more bombs as he was on the mat grounded, that he wouldn't have been knocked out. We don't know.
Yeah.
But I think I would have given him a little bit more time to recover if he can still fight through it. That's what I would have done, but that's not what happened.
Yeah.
Silva was fantastic. I think it wasn't a knee. I thought it was a check hook that he dropped him with initially, and then that's what led to his demise. But either way, great win by Silva, and unfortunately, Tavares back to the drawing board. Even though Tavares in those last 2 fights, I think he's lost both of them, but he looked great in both. He really did. He looked really good.
Yeah, you're right. That was an initial knee, and then a huge right dropped him to take him down. Yeah, that was the 20th KO of his career for Bruno Silva. He's had the most middleweight KOs since 2021. 4. Did get the 50K bonus against a guy that's been in the UFC forever. Brad Tavares is actually right now the longest tenured middleweight. He started in June 19th of 2010. So yeah, one of the guys that's been around the longest. Chris Weidman came in a little bit after that. Nick Diaz, and then we got Derek Brunson. All those guys came in 2011, 2012. Longest tenured guy in there. Doesn't have a long career. 19-9 with. I mean, doesn't have a lot of fights in that time frame, but 13 years in the UFC, it's a really long time.
13 years in combat sports is definitely a long time, and the fact that he's still doing it is a credit to him.
Yeah. Somebody that didn't get 50K, didn't even get his win bonus, did not get anything, and he's really choked about that, is Bobby Green. It was called a no contest when him and Jared Gordon's heads collided. Gordon hit the mat. Green landed a couple of grounded pound shots, and the fight was called over. Once the referee went and talked to the officials, they decided to call it a no contest. Bobby Green is really pissed about this, and I guess kind of should be. What did you think about how it ended up being called a no contest?
I'm gonna be honest. I thought it was a good call. I thought it was a good call because Green went for a jab or a short left elbow, missed it, and hit him with his head. And that's what caused the knockdown, which caused him to win the fight. No, I don't agree with it because that's not headbutts are not allowed. So you can't win off a headbutt. And so I thought they actually got it right. I was glad that they convened, they talked, they made sure that they got it right, and they did get it right. And for me, as far as I'm concerned, run it back. Let's do it again.
Sure.
Because as far as I'm concerned, I'm a huge Bobby Green fan. They're gonna run it back, and I think Green wins anyway. So
yeah. How fast do you think they can make it happen? Does Gordon?
it depends on how badly Gordon was actually hurt because he did get KO'd. You saw him go limp. So it kind of depends on how fast his recuperation is. Maybe a month from now, maybe 3 weeks from now. I don't know, but they should definitely do it when Gordon is ready to go.
Yeah. Next fight I want to talk about is the Jeremiah Wells Matthew Semmelsberger fight. Holy cow, this was an amazing fight. Semmelsberger rocks Jeremiah at the beginning of all 3 rounds and can't take him out. Wells ends up taking the fight to the mat, keeping control and getting ground and pound and getting the victory. But man, this was a hell of a fight. Semmelsberger is tough as nails, but could not take Wells out when he needed to.
I thought the fight was over in the first round because Wells came out like a house on fire, like he's just gonna charge out and gets rocked by a right hand right away by Semmelsberger. And I think Wells is like, man, maybe that wasn't the smartest idea. Running at this guy. Like I think he had the realization of, oh, this guy can crack like hard. And he got rocked a lot. Like I'll say this. Wells's will to win was severely tested in this fight.
Yeah.
And he managed to figure out a way to get it done. And he got it done with his grappling and his wrestling because he was getting touched up on his feet. Oh, yeah. Quite simply said, he was not getting any advantage on his feet. So he went to the place where he did have an advantage, which was in the grappling realm. Won a very, very, very hard-fought victory. I personally thought that maybe that Semmelsberger maybe won the first round. All right.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand the split decision. Sorry, man. Didn't get that part.
Yeah, the weird thing is, we talked about boxing and MMA being so different, completely different sports. If this is boxing, I think Semmelsberger wins the first 2 rounds, 10-7, 10-8. He got 2 knockdowns in the first round, gets another knockdown in that second round. He has the fight wrapped up right then and there. But this is MMA, and I think that with Wells and what he did after, surviving and then taking the fight to the ground and really dominating, getting some great work in ground and pound, he took those rounds. And it was like, wow, very tough for a boxing judge that has to come over and judge an MMA fight. Hopefully these were legitimate, true MMA judges, but yeah, that split decision, it doesn't make sense in MMA because Wells, I think, won all 3 of those rounds, but they gave a 29-28 decision. That's right in boxing, but it's not in MMA.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like I thought it was Wells 29-28. And the fact that there was even a split decision, I was just like, again, it makes me raise an eyebrow and go, the judges are idiots once again, or it's a judge that doesn't even know what he's doing or whatever. But it's a problem. It's going to continue to be a problem until it's rectified. At least the good thing is for this particular fight, the right guy won, as opposed to the other guy. So,
yeah. That's a 6-fight win streak for Wells, and called out a top 15. I can't see why he's not already even in the top 15. Such a powerful, powerful guy at 170. I can't even believe he makes 170. This guy looks so fucking big. And yeah, he he has so much power and such great takedown ability. He was he was able to withstand that because he is so tough and get that victory, a big win. Unfortunately, the Song Yadong Ricky Simone fight was canceled off this card. It will be the main event next weekend. That's too bad. We were both looking forward to that fight a lot, but I guess yeah, we just gotta wait a few more days and we'll be able to see it. In the prelims, the feature fight on the prelims was the Gladiator against the Spartan, and this was also a one-sided affair. Rick Glenn has been around the UFC. I mentioned long tenured with Brad Tavares. Glenn is one of the longest tenured fighter in the lightweight division. Entered the UFC in 2006. Only two guys entered sooner: Clay Guida in 2003 and Jim Miller in 2005. Rick Glenn, third longest tenured fighter, but Giagos, once he landed that temple shot, it was just really quickly over with. Maybe a quick stoppage there as well, but holy cow, did he ever get rocked by that shot?
I don't think that's. If there's one thing I can say, this was not a quick stoppage. I did that was a correct stoppage. It was pretty obvious to me that Giagos was the more powerful striker. He would explode in with his strikes. And I thought to myself, if Glenn is not careful, if he does not have his hands up in the correct defense, gets caught with one of those strikes, he's going out. And then he did. And it was a left hook that flatlined Glenn. Boom. And it was over first round. Great win by Giagos. But yeah, you could tell who was the more powerful fighter. And if he got caught with something, I thought Glenn was going out. And he did.
Christos gets a 50K bonus for that. Only 135, only had to be in there for a minute and a half. Pretty sweet. Glenn had never been knocked out. First time in his career, in that long career. Even Giagos was the underdog coming in, coming off 2 losses in a row. He was able to get the victory. He just joined the new Killcliff MMA Florida gym with Henry Hooft as the main coach there, and immediate dividends paid off for him. And anybody that put a bet down got some good payment for choosing the underdog. 50K was also given out to the winner of the fight previous to that one, a bantamweight fight between Montel Jackson and Hani Yahya. Yahya is an old man that loves his submissions and tries to secure like a boa constrictor and grab your leg, grab your arm, something that he can constrict into a place that you're going to tap to. But this was a little tiny guy against the guy that's on a good rise, and Montel was able to live up to his nickname, get a quick win, and yeah, just dominate here and get 50K for his troubles.
Yeah, well, the thing with Ronnie is he depends. His whole fight game is predicated on getting you down to the mat. If he doesn't get you down to the mat, there's a strong chance that he won't win the fight. Yeah, because like he's just that much of a wizard on the mat. Now Montel Jackson did the right thing by when he did get down to the mat, and Yahya tried to take advantage of that. He was able to break the hold, break the lock he had on his right arm, stand back up, force him up, so that he could beat him at his game where he's best at, which is in the striking department. Hit him with that counter left, ground and pound finish. Excellent win by Jackson. Knowing where it was easier for him to win this battle, which was definitely on the field.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a beautiful counter left hook that dropped him, and boom. That gives him 4 wins in a row. That's third most in the division. Both Merab Dvalishvili and Aljamain Sterling have 8 in a row. Twice as many as him, but 4 wins in a row, and as I said, 50K going to the winner. I do want to just skip to the heavyweight battle between Muhammad Usman and Junior Tafa. They both have very decorated brothers in the UFC, and have both come in as prospects at sort of later ages. And I know why. I don't know why they are nowhere near the quality level of their brothers, but Usman ends up winning a decision. These guys were throwing heavy leather, but not accurately, looking pretty sloppy. Usman is one huge guy and was able to get the victory, but they both have to go to the gym and learn how to be a lot better, because these guys are really raw.
Yeah. Tafa almost had Usman out of there. Usman showed his determination and toughness by hanging in and resorting to his grappling and his wrestling to get the fight to the ground, where Tafa needs to learn how to, figure that out, which is how to get up, how to technically get up and get out of those positions, because once he got taken to the ground, he stayed there because he could not get up. He could not get up from under Usman. And Usman needs to, learn how to do some slips, have his guard up more, and because like these guys were just winging punches. That's what I thought when I was watching them. They're just winging punches with no real technique behind anything. So I was just like, oh, okay, so just big guys just swinging, going like swinging for the fences, pretty much, right? Good win by Usman. Again, like I said before, he found a path to win. He found a path to win, which was through his grappling, because standing up with Tafa was not working for him whatsoever.
No, Tafa is really good with his stand-up. Definitely. He comes in from the kickboxing realm. He was trained by Mark Hunt, long-term UFC guy. Hunt trains Tai Tuivasa, Carlos Ulberg, and some of the really tough guys. They go to the AKA in Thailand and train there. But Tafa has to learn, takedown defense and how to get back up if he gets taken down. Usman was able to dominate once the fight got down there and got the massive win. It's always shocking when you see brothers. Look at the difference between the two Usman brothers. Like, those guys don't look like they're brothers in any way. I can't believe the weight difference and the body type and the skill level. It's just night and day. So different.
Yeah, it is night and day between the two brothers, and like that, just the quality between the two. But also too, you don't know how long these two guys have been doing the MMA as opposed to the two brothers.
Right.
And I think it's the experience and time is also, you have to consider that as a factor. And so hopefully as time goes on, these two will get better, and we'll see the improvement as they get in more and more fights down the line.
Yeah. Usman was chasing a professional football career, started as a wrestler in college and as a football player. And so, I shouldn't throw too much shade on him. He's a little raw. He has to learn, his better stand up, less looping punches like that. And he could probably have half decent career. He is a little bit older, but we'll see what goes on. Let's just jump to next week's card. Let's go to Song Yadong, Ricky Simon, and what do you see between these combatants in the main event?
I see them fighting each other at every different level, but I think the path to winning for Ricky Simon is to grapple and to tire him out with his tireless pressure. Like I think he's going to wrestle Song Yadong some more. I think on the side of Song Yadong, he needs to create space and throw his punches. And like I think that his best his best way to victory is to have that space so he can throw his strikes and then hopefully knock Ricky Simone out. But either way, it's going to be a great fight, and I think I called it before, and I'll call it again. I think this is going to be your fight of the night.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think yeah, you're onto something there for sure. Yeah, I don't have a ton to add to this card. There are a couple heavyweight battles which would be fun. We've got two middleweight battles on the main card, and yeah, we'll see some of these prospects emerge. Arman Sarukian and Hanato Moicano had to get canceled. This is off this card, and so did Ange Lusa and Josh Quinlan. Both those fights are no longer. Don't know if they're going to be replaced or not, but the heavyweight feature fight on the prelims is Martin Budai against Jake Collier in a heavyweight battle there. Yeah, I expect a knockout from one of those two guys, and but yeah, not a lot of huge names. Not not a card that's decorated as well, same as this past week.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you got cards like this, but hopefully we can be surprised with some really good fights.
Yeah.
You just never know. You just never know. That's why you watch. So, but yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the Song Yudong Ricky Simone fight. That's going to be a great fight, and I do hope that the cancer fight between Sarukian and Moicano gets rescheduled at some point in time, because that's a fight, as far as I'm concerned, that definitely needs to happen. That fight needs.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Okay, that's the UFC story. I guess the last thing I want to mention is NFL draft this Thursday. Biggest story that keeps emerging is what is Carolina going to do with their number one overall pick? It seems to be between Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, which quarterback they want to go with. I can't believe how many pundits have one guy, and then so many pundits have the other guy. There just doesn't seem to be an overwhelming majority on one side or the other. We'll see. This is a franchise-changing moment. Carolina has made a lot of stupid moves over their lifetime and will probably screw this up somehow. But from most people's perspective, whatever guy they get's probably going to be a star and help this franchise get out of the doldrums of mediocrity.
Yeah. Whatever guy that they go with, hopefully that's the guy that can help. I personally seen a lot more video of Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper is more
not Harper, Young.
Young, sorry, Young, sorry. Bryce Young. He's the more creative quarterback out of the two. Like once he gets out of the pocket, like he's just pure creativity out there. I personally, I probably go with Bryce Young, even though he's the smaller quarterback and there's all these things about like the small quarterback and stuff. But whatever, man. If you can play football, you can play football, no matter what size you are, as far as I'm concerned. So
yeah,
I think they should. I think they should go with. My personally feel is they should go with the guy that can just ad lib and be creative and do all these things. I would go with Bryce
Young. It seems like Alabama is going to be very well represented in the draft picks this year. Alabama does not do a bad job drafting these guys, and he went there, one of the most high pressured college quarterback positions, and had an absolutely phenomenal career. I think you're right. Bryce Young's probably the guy they should go with, but there is a bias against shorter quarterbacks. Always has been, always will be, probably, and yeah, we'll see where they turn to. So Carolina gets number 1, Houston 2, Arizona 3, Indianapolis 4, and Seattle 5. Looks like if whoever chooses between Young and Stroud number 1, Houston will maybe go for the other guy. So those two positions maybe are locked up. I understand that Arizona is leaning toward Will Anderson. Indianapolis is kind of looking at Will Levis and also and Richardson. Seattle is looking really a lot at Jalen Carter, who has definitely top 5 draft pick ability, but severe off-field troubles that I'm not sure if a team wants to take a risk on him. That has been sort of the biggest wild card in this draft.
What do you know what some of his off-field troubles were?
He was blamed for a car accident that killed a couple people and has yet to be gone to trial and figured out what his sentencing is and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, something that's hanging over his head pretty severely.
That's not like good. So well, we'll see how that plays out. But like, people deserve second chances. He's a young man. He made a mistake. It doesn't mean that he'll continually make two mistakes for the rest of his life, right? So, still sounds kind of dicey to take a chance on him, but you never know. You never know, and especially if the talent is there and if the talent is overwhelming, well, then we've seen how that goes. You take him anyways, and then you deal with whatever comes afterwards. So.
Yeah, I hear he's the best defensive player, definitely in this draft and possibly in the last few drafts. He's a defensive tackle out of Georgia, and he probably when it went top 3, right away, if he didn't have these off-field troubles, he might not go to Seattle. He might fall down the list a little bit. I heard the Raiders are quite interested in him, and Raiders do give a lot of guys chances that do have these off-field troubles. So it wouldn't surprise me if they picked him if Seattle did.
Oh man, yeah, Raiders love players like that. Love them, eat them up, please. Anybody with troubles, past troubles now, we'll take them. We love those guys.
That happens, yeah. Unfortunately for Raiders fans, that's a thing. Houston gets 2 picks in the first round, number 2 and number 12. So they should really get some top end talent. Seattle gets 2 picks, number 5 and number 20. And the Eagles, number 10 and number 30. The rich get richer with Philadelphia. There's 5 teams that don't get a first round pick. The Rams, the Niners, the Broncos, and the Browns, all because of trades that they've made. And the Dolphins also don't get a first round pick. They have been punished by the league for tampering when they were trying to sign Tom Brady and Sean Payton, and they lost their first round pick this year and their third round pick next year. So they will not be featured in the first round. The draft goes down in Kansas City Thursday through Saturday and should be a lot of fun. There's so many draft projections and boards and things, and who knows who's going where. If one team goes off the board a little bit, that's going to shake up the whole thing. I hear that this could be a really big draft for running backs and tight ends, which is kind of strange because it's not been a focus for many teams for a while. Bijan Robinson from Texas is super highly touted as the top running back coming out of college. And there's also Jamar Gibbs, Tajai Spears, and Zach Charbonnet are all other guys that are being looked at heavily. The most tight ends that have ever been picked out of a first round are 3. They say that could be at least 4 or 5 coming out this year. Michael Mayer from Notre Dame, Darnell Washington from Georgia, Dalton Kincaid from Utah, and Oregon State's Luke Musgrave are the top prospects in the tight end field. We'll see what happens. Atlanta goes number 8. Big possibility that they get Bijan Robinson, the big running back out of Texas. So that might help your Falcons.
Now, anything could help them at this point in time. Like anything, any kind of help would help.
Yeah. It's been all the quarterbacks are always talked about. There's about 5 guys that are supposed to be, heading out in the top 10 possibly. And this will be definitely a very high draft for most of the quarterbacks coming out. And I guess my last note for the NFL was Jalen Hurts held a big press conference yesterday and talked about, yes, it was nice to sign a big deal. I'm glad I got some guaranteed money, and this money is life-changing and great, but titles are much better than money for me. I want us to go for titles, not think about this money, not care about it anymore. I'm glad that that's his focus. And he said a lot of good things yesterday in that press conference.
Well, yeah, he said a lot of good things. He's a natural leader. He's the quarterback that you want to lead your team. Not like a certain someone who said MVPs were more important than Super Bowls. Who was that guy again? Wait, was that the guy that went to the Jets? Oh yeah, it was. It was that guy. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, no, Jalen's awesome, and his head is on straight, which is I want to try to win Super Bowls because we were so ridiculously close to getting my first one against the Chiefs. And so that he's super motivated to get back there. That the whole team is super motivated to get back there. So, and they got the right guy to do it, right guy to get him there because let's be honest, besides that one turnover, he had one hell of a game.
Amazing, yeah.
It was unfreaking believable.
Such a great run. Yeah, incredible. Yeah. The other thing that was noteworthy about this press conference and the signing was this was the largest contract ever negotiated by a female agent. Nicole Lynn was able to pound out this agreement for the 24-year-old with the Eagles front office. I hear incredible things about her. She represents some really top-end talent. Soon as Lamar Jackson heard about this, should have been on the phone, getting her on speed dial and getting her to negotiate his contract. This was great for the female agents that are out there that work just as hard as the males and do not get the credit and do not get the big notoriety as a lot of the other high super profile agents. And I hope this helps her grow her client base. And maybe we can finally get Lamar Jackson a proper representation and he can get a deal done.
Yeah, first off, this is definitely going to help her client base because it's like, I want what he got. I want what he got. Can I get what he got? It's like, no, you can't. You're not that good. But if Lamar Jackson was paying attention, I think his mom controls his life when it comes to agent stuff. Like she's like literally his agent. So if that's the case, then maybe a female agent that's actually like a female agent, like that's what she does for her profession, would be the best for him. Yeah. And then they like the mom and her could talk about how much money can we get my son? Like how much money can we get him? Can we get him something like Jalen? Can we do that? Because that's the kind of money that Lamar should be making.
Yeah.
Exactly that. Maybe even a little bit more. But that's it. That's his next contract. So hopefully he figures it out at some point or something happens. And then hopefully he's happy. But the one thing I don't want to see this guy come at the end of this year coming up and not still have a contract, which would be the most ridiculous thing ever. Yeah. Because then that would show me that there's indefinite collusion if that dude does not have a contract by the end of the football year coming up.
Yeah, I agree. It needs to get done. So, we don't have something to talk negative about the NFL. There have been so many negative stories and this one just really reeks of something wrong. And get a hold of Nicole Lynn, Lamar's mom. Get a hold of her. You guys can go break some bread, talk about it, say what you and your son want, and make it happen. she made it happen for Jalen. She can make it happen for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, buddy. I'm going to send you on your way. I think we just hit tip off for Milwaukee Heat, and enjoy the basketball tonight. Thanks for doing this as always. And I'm sure we'll talk through the week.
Yeah, we'll talk through the week, my friend. Enjoy the game. Talk
Okay.
later.
Cheers. Good night. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Okay, everybody. Wow. Another podcast episode is done, completed. A lot of fun conversations there. Yeah, I just really enjoy breaking down a weekend of sports. It was nice to get away and not be so consumed by sports as I normally am, and nice to have an opportunity to just come back and then bury into my sports and have a great conversation like we just had. Thank you to our partners and sponsors. Always appreciated. Really want to just give a shout out to anchor.fm, easiest place to make a podcast, phenomenal posting on multiple podcast platforms for us. Verbero, the hockey equipment and apparel company, industry leader in technology, performance, and value. And the V350 stick is a must-have for anyone in your family. Campus and Possibilities, they can create West Coast vibes in your home and spruce it up, make it look great. Just give them a call. You can find their details on our website. And Forever Living, the aloe vera company for health and beauty products. I use the products, we use the products, and we recommend them heavily, love them. And you can find them at discounted rates on our website, completesportsmedia.com. Thanks for all the love and support lately. Thanks for all the comments, all the emojis, all the great things that you're sending us. And I appreciate, how much we're growing. Really, really great to see, and it makes us proud. All the hard work is worth it for you guys. And thanks for giving us a piece of your week every single solitary week. I love it. I appreciate it a ton. And we hope we continue to keep delivering. So enjoy your life. Enjoy the spring. Man, it's beautiful out there. And I'm sure in your little spot in the world, it's going to get better and better and better every day. So love you lots. Take care of yourself, and we will see you soon. Bye for now.